on my own, broken and alone. I feel the rain crashing down all around this empty town. I'm searching for the lost and found, but you don't care, you're unaware. Keep moving like the scars aren't even there. It's in the air like a blazing flare. Don't stare 'cause the flames will burn us. I thought you were the one for me. That's why I gave you everything. Held you close by the stormy seas. Oh, you meant the world to me. I used to kiss your head when you cried for me. Hold your hand while the pain was over. Keep you warm by the roaring sea. You meant the world to me. Like shadows in the atmosphere, charting the stratosphere. Yeah. I prayed for you, kept you near.
Are you a curious student, eager to learn new skills and make your mark in the world? Or are you a professional seeking to advance your career and unlock your full potential? You need to be equipped with effective soft skills like communication, problem solving, teamwork, and more. The Level Up Academy by Doc Leland bridges the gap between education and employment through transferable skills training. Get the soft skills you need to be more effective at work.
Cheers, guys! Happy Wednesday! Okay, I gotta stop. I gotta stop popping. I was like, Brian, where are you? He's here. I see him. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon to everyone who is listening all over the world. I know this is all on YouTube. And by the way, I just want to stop for a moment and give and provide thanks to my YouTube followers and subscribers. I hit 4,000 yesterday, and I never thought I would get that number. Literally, on April of this year, I was 36 subscribers, like 36. And having content, I'm so sorry. I haven't really created a separate video other than my live stream that's 2 times a week. And I know one of my students is like, what happened to your, audio room for students? And I said, it will come back soon. I just want to make sure that I provide good value to our conversation. And I also got requested on a PDF form on time management. It was funny because this morning I was talking to my daughter. She was like, I'm so pressured at school and I have this homework. I'm like, did you do your Pomodoro? And she's like, oh, yes, I'm going to do intensive 25 units cleaning today, Mom, so I can study. I'm like, great. So I'm doing my 15-year-old a favor on starting her on how to manage her time because she's the queen of procrastinator. Like, I did not study. I have a test today. I totally forgot. That's the only thing that I'm hearing from her. But luckily for her, she has good memory. And so she does well on the test or exam. But here's a problem with that. You can't sustain that all the time and not be stressed. So I wanted her to have a good study habits and good time management skills now. If you are an adult and you're like, I don't know how to manage my time, check out my audio on Facebook and YouTube and LinkedIn. Definitely it's living on YouTube on the playlist. I have a playlist on audio rims. It's the 3 time management that I use to manage my crazy life. But here's the thing today. Today's really about mindset change maker. And I'm doing a lot of interviews lately. So if I haven't had coffee chats with you, I apologize. I won't be available for coffee chats until November. This month and next month is going to be quite busy on the Global Summit. And I had a chat with someone asking about, hey, can you explain to me what the summit's about? Who's going to be in it? How many people are in it? I'm like, oh, good stats. But here's the thing. When you're worried about so much time because you're trying to leave a legacy and impact, having that immediate number is not necessarily mean that you're successful at your event. And I'm going to tell you why. When I did my 50 inspirational connections, I wasn't even thinking like, I'm going to have a matrix. It's going to be successful. I'm going to have hundreds of thousands of people. I'm going to have, I wasn't thinking about that. I celebrate my micro wins. First of all, I'm still getting feedback from my 50 inspirational. And I know Nick is also getting feedback, right? The whole point of creating a legacy and an impact, it's not a fad. It's not a trend. It's a lifetime. Right? And this is my journey all the way to the end of my life. Everything that I do and I want to do and dedicate my time in is to elevate people. You know why? It makes my heart flutter. It makes my stomach like, when you have a crush on someone and you're like, ooh, he's so cute, right? And you're like flipping your hair. That's how I feel when I help someone and I get a DM like, thank you so much for pushing me and inspiring me to, create content and just be out there. And I'm thinking, I don't even know this person. They're not even in the 50 inspirational connections, but having that ripple effect impact, it just makes my heart flutter. So the point of the Global Summit is literally having access. I wanted to show you what the power is of collaboration and community looks like. Having access to the people like Dr. Brian Sagre today. I'm hoping I didn't butcher his last name. To get that affordable rate, it's not even about the money. Sometimes that is like the stopping point for us because like, oh, we can't afford, therefore we don't need it. We do need it, right? It's just a matter of prioritizing where your money goes. Money is a tool to buy you either freedom to choose or freedom to buy things. but it shouldn't be something that's stopping you from growing. You do need a mentor, you do need a coach, right? So for those people like, I got it going on, I don't need anything, you do. You just don't know it because you have that mental block. And I'm hoping that this conversation will help you figure that one out today. But first thing is first, I wanted to show you, I'm hoping I can find this, the schedule of the summit. I don't know if you guys are seeing it. I'm sure you are. This is the schedule of the summit. It's a preliminary because people are asking, what is it going to be? How is it going to be? Listen, I'm still figuring out the aspect of the technical aspect. There's a lot of technical aspects that I'm running behind scenes that I'm doing by myself to ensure that this summit is not boring. Here's the thing. When I go to summits, usually there's a speaker panel, they talk. And sometimes, okay, I'm guilty of this. I go do my laundry, I go to the bathroom, I cook because I'm hungry, right? And you miss the whole point of the summit. It's because you know you're comfortable that no one sees you, no one takes you accountable, that you're sitting there and you're listening to the message. Well, we'll have a little bit of that panel, right? We're going to have a panel of speakers that we're going to be there. Thursday, the panel one, and I have to verify this with our keynote speaker, but he will be the one that opens up. Okay. And then after that, we'll have a lot of speakers. But here's the thing. After that, you're going to be like right here on StreamYard. However, if you are registered, and the registration's open next week, if you are registered, you get to be taken to our Zoom room. Okay. I'm so excited about that. It is only really 30 minutes, but it's going to be like 5 minutes of getting to know your people. And we're going to rotate that breakout room. So you get to see the people, you get to know your community quickly, right? And then, of course, the sponsors will have their own room. If you are a sponsor for a business, you'll have your own breakout room where everyone gets to know you in that breakout room. And that would be morning. So we have 6 events throughout these 3 days. We have morning and evening. And the reason I have evening, it's because of my brothers and sisters from the other parts of the world. They can't come in at 2 a.m. and like be excited about what we're talking about. So I want them to be wide awake. So this is my schedule for the summit. There might be changes on Saturday. I might just do the whole day thing where it's a morning instead of like 5:30 in the evening for pre-live. I would probably make it on Saturday, like just continue from 11:15 all the way to like 2 more hours to 2. I don't know yet. Again, there's a technical stuff that I have to run. But this is the preliminary schedule. So if you're interested on knowing what that looks like in the summit, okay? Let's see. Another thing I wanted to go over is see if I can actually the benefits. So this is the benefit of being a business sponsor. You'll get your own breakout room for 30 minutes to meet and greet with our attendees. You'll also get free networking event to exchange business cards on October 21st. If you are not a speaker or a sponsor, you won't be invited to that. However, you could still come, but you will have to pay $10 to get in. It's basically just having a speed networking and get your business card out, get your elevator pitches out, because that is the time that you need to go. That is the exact point of this. You also will be featured in our YouTube channel with exposures to 4K subs. And of course, some of our audios will be exposed to our 25 distribution channels in 6 continents and 73 nations and countries. It's probably more now because I haven't checked it in 2 months. Quite honestly, I got so busy. But there are benefits more than anything is that the legacy and impact that you are creating for our community. All right. So if you have any questions, go ahead and DM me. And if I haven't gone through your applications, you'll get an email from me. Right now, I'm almost close to my speaker that I'm looking for. Right, I know there's 70 of you. Thank you so much. It's growing. I appreciate you. But I only need 30 speakers and I am almost done interviewing everyone. So love you guys. For those of you who I have sent an email, if you are not having your video by this weekend, yeah, that might be a problem. So make sure you contact me, okay? ASAP. Love you guys, and let's go ahead and roll. Are you guys ready for Brian? I don't know. Brian would like Hi. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Born ready, right?
That's right.
That's right. So you're drinking your coffee. I'm drinking my coffee now too. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing well.
Good to hear. Let's go right dive into my first question, which is almost my always question, is think back 20 years ago and find within your timeline some of the significant changes in your life that got you here where you are today.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, that could be a whole show in and of itself. So 20 years ago, I was still practicing as a surgeon, had left being a professional athlete to go into surgery. So I had made a transition then in my career. I was working as a surgeon, was a residency director, fellowship director, professor at the medical school, and was just having a great time, teaching, educating, and giving back. Was actually the youngest director at the time in my specialty. And then basically, I lost my dad to his second round of cancer. And we had a large family business at the time in Texas that was a statewide company that my parents had had for close to 50 years. My mom and him had started, founded, and run the business, without any sort of high school education, even. And when he passed away, my mom was sort of at her wits' end and couldn't really run the business. So I walked away from my career and my profession to take over as president of the company and build their business and save it from going under and help them to sell that business. And that's what got me where I am here now.
Wow. First of all, that is actually so selfless. Like most people I know, well, I should say half and half. Some people would be jumping just right what you did because I come from a long line of business people since I can remember. But some people would be like, I don't know what to do with that. I have, I'm busy with my own life, so I'm going to do it this way. But you took care of family business. You took care and gave up. That is so like the most selfless ever. I love that. As far as taking care of your parents, in Asian culture, that's what we do. We take care of our parents all the way through, right? Because they took care of us in the when we were little. So I appreciated that so much. Now I wanted to know, from being a surgeon, being an educator, running your own business, and then for your family, and then now you have your own business. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I was my family was very similar growing up. We didn't have much. I was raised on a working ranch, and my parents, I was fortunate that they did everything for us and were always there for us, and instilled those values in us. And growing up, as I watched my parents' small business develop into a large statewide business, I was able to sort of through osmosis take in all of the factors that went in behind the scenes of what it takes to run a successful small business and grow it and scale it. And the number one consistent theme that I saw the whole time that I was watching this was customer service, hands down, period, no matter what. And so at the end of the day, people always remember how we make them feel. And I just remember so many instances and so many times where no matter if my dad's business had to eat the cost, even if they were in the right and the customer was in the wrong, my parents never went against that, customer first mentality and always did right by the customer to have a happy customer. Because at the end of the day, they talk, and that's one of the best avenues of referral, or it's one of the best avenues of them having people avoid your business, right? And so I think for me, now that I'm running my own company, I just follow those same tenets that no matter what I do, it's serving the client, serving the customer without attachment, and that we're here to make their life better in some way, not to make money from them. And so I look at the ultimate goal for me is them having a successful outcome, and I put that first above everything else.
I love that. You're coming in from a value perspective rather than the whole bottom line. Um, and I think that is definitely a mindset change and shift from go, 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 let's get that money. Like the sales, I've been in sales for a long time as well. I have a lot of different careers in my life, but the hardest one is construction for sure. Selling construction services was one of my hardest. Trying to go into huge construction sites, I have no idea what I was talking about, and then shifting my mind says I can sell this. And it's so funny. Dr. Kimberly, Dr. Kat says mindset is everything. It trumps all. That is so true. Now I have a question for you. What does the term mindset change maker mean to you, and why is it important in today's world?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, a lot of people will say that mindset is the number one most important thing, and they'll talk about that. And it's a term that gets thrown around a lot. But I really think a lot of people don't truly understand what that means or what it is, right? I think it's trendy. They hear it, they say it. But at the end of the day, the most powerful resource on earth by far is what we have between our two ears, right? And so the beauty of life is that even if you want to talk about something as simple as joy or being content, right? I posted this morning, I post all the time about how I wasted a lot of my life chasing happiness, chasing dopamine, chasing external things, right, in the world. And I can tell you that if there's one piece of advice you leave with today is that if you stop thinking that happiness is external and you think about the fact that joy comes from internal, right, comes from inside, then you realize that you can have joy and you can be content anywhere and anytime that you want because you control your own thoughts, right? You are able to give the definition and the meaning to your emotions and to your feelings. No one else gets to do that. We get to, and that's regardless of the external environment. And so I think that in today's world, it's so important to be able to have a powerful mindset because there are so many distractions, right? With cell phones, with social media, with the media itself trying to pit one against another, right? With all of the crazy politics going on in the world, there's so many distractions that can really fatigue and cause this sort of decision fatigue. And so, yeah, you're right. In today's world, more than ever, I'm telling you, the most important place you can invest is in your own mind set and in building the emotional, the mental, the physical, and the spiritual resilience, right? It's all four of those things coming together that will lead to true mindfulness. It's not just one of those four. It really takes all four of those. And I think that working with someone or finding a way to strengthen all four of those things will allow you to not have more resources, right? Because a lot of people think they need more resources, but what they really need is to be more resourceful. And the way you become more resourceful is by building those four tenets.
That's amazing. I love that. I love that mindset of you don't need so many things from everyone. You just need yourself at the end of the day. And I've always told people, even my kids, I tell them, listen, at the end of the day, you were birthed by yourself. You will go out by yourself, right? Because in high school, there's so much peer pressure to do this, to do that, to look cool, to get this, to get that. At the end of the day, kids are so bombarded with so many things. And then we're like, okay, well, why are you having sadness when you as a parent or as an adult, you see everything, you've given them everything. They couldn't want for anything anymore, but yet they still feel like they're not enough. It's
Right.
because of that. It's because they want their friends to approve what they look like. They want their friends to approve that they're cool. And even if you're smart, you have to play stupid to be cool. When was
Yep.
that a thing? Like,
I
they're like, "No,
mean,
I don't want to be called a nerd. They make fun of me because I'm on math 3 and I'm only a sophomore. It's supposed to be, geometry. I don't know how I can do that. Like, should I fail a test? I'm like, are you crazy? No, you're not living your life for your friends. You're living your life for you because at the end of the day, it's your future that's going to go to bunkers if you don't watch it. So I
yeah,
appreciate that. Now, in your
yeah, it's
opinion,
true.
go ahead.
No, it's true. I mean, I think you touched on so much with your daughter right there. I think that a big problem with society now is this concept of instant gratification, and then even more so than that is in our society nowadays, people want to be in what is called this sort of herd mentality, right? Like people want to be part of the group. And if you look at the old Stoic philosophers, which I love them, that they all talk about, every single one of them, I could name a dozen of them right now. They all talk about how you want to break free from the herd mentality, and how you want to be unique and true to your own self, even if it means that you have to stand alone or stand by yourself for what you believe in. One of the biggest problems in our society today is everybody wants to fit in. They want to be in the group. They want to build this herd mentality. And it's not to say that you don't want to have a good group of friends around you, but what you don't want to do is just go along with what everyone else is doing and lose your own sense of identity, right?
Yeah, I think so. Here's the thing. Sometimes people only identify themselves when they can identify other people. But what the problem is that you don't know the whole person. The whole person doesn't even know the whole person. I think it's going to take us a whole lifetime to know who we are. Heck, I'm almost 50 and I just figure out how to vent my abandonment issues publicly. And I got scolded by my mother saying, I didn't abandon you. That's not the truth. And I was like, Mom, I don't know which facts it is or how you want to dress it up, but like the fact that you left me when I was 2 and I didn't see you until I was 7 for 12 hours, and then you left again until I was 18, like we couldn't see each other. I don't know what is the definition of abandonment at that point. Like seriously, I don't know. Right? And then she kind of just quieted down a little bit and thought about it. And I said, I'm sure the intentions were not that. However, the results is still that. And I think that's the problem, is that we want, like you said, instant gratification now. I didn't do that. I didn't say that. Or how about like every single thing I've noticed with children? Okay, Mom, you're gaslighting me. Or this pick me. I'm like, what? Can you guys define what pick me is or what gaslighting means to you? Like, you guys are throwing big words, but do you really understand those things? And so I'm trying to like keep up with all the hip conversations with my daughter, but I also watch the information on Snapchat because I think it's a dangerous app. You literally, if you are a stalker, that's definitely where they're hiding, because you could see people exactly where they're at, what time they're at, can study their habits, where they eat, where they go to school, where they go shopping, where they live. I mean, hello? It's there. And so I watch her. I'm like, okay, you need to dump friends who are not really people I know that you know personally and not able to see you visibly where you're at. And I think kids think that it's so hip to see like, oh my God, I'm at the beach, or oh my God, I'm at the mall. It's not hip. But they don't see what's wrong with it, which is kind of interesting. And the mindset change from don't talk to strangers, so let the world know where you're at. That is crazy to me, right? That is crazy. Now, my next question is, in your opinion, what are the key factors that contribute to someone's ability to effectively change their mindset? Because there's a way of changing it, and then there's a way to effectively change it.
Yeah, I think the most important thing first is to realize, and this is the part that most people don't want to hear, the first thing you have to do is realize that 99.9% of all of the problems in your life are your fault. They're not anybody else's fault. So the people that are like, it's my boss's fault, it's the toxic work culture, I'm late because there were too many red lights, I'm overweight because the food that they cook at the restaurants is unhealthy, right? So you have to lose that victim, the world is out to get me mentality. You have to drop that right away. And that's not me being harsh. That's me coming to people from the sense of, challenging them, supporting them, holding them accountable. You cannot effectively change your mindset if you're stuck in a victim mentality and that you think the world is out to get you, right? If that's what you truly feel, then it's going to be very difficult for you to make lasting change. You might be able to change some of your behaviors, but you're not going to make lasting transformation. So the first thing is acceptance that you're the problem. And then after that, the most important thing that you need to do is realize that, it's you see a lot of, and I made a video about this the other day. It was so funny. So you see a lot of people out there now who talk about work smarter, not harder. And they talk about quality over quantity. And I will say that I don't disagree with that. But here's the caveat. Behind all of that quality work, there was a lot of quantity that went into producing that quality thing, right? behind all of that work smarter, there was a lot of work harder until you learned how to work smarter. And sometimes working smarter is working harder, right? A professional basketball player, a professional golfer, they don't shoot the basketball 10 times a day. They shoot the basketball thousands of times a day, right? A professional golfer hits thousands of golf balls a day. So this mentality in our society today about working smarter, not harder, I hate to say it, is really dangerous, because at some point in time, you have to put the reps in and you have to be willing to do the hard work. You're like me, we have multiple degrees. You don't get to where you get. People that are great, ask anybody that's great, and people don't like to hear this and people get upset. But look at anyone that's great at what they do, whether it's an athlete, whether it's Warren Buffett, whether it's Elon Musk, even if you hate him, right? Whether it's all of these people that are super successful, these people did not get to where they got by working only smarter and by taking the easy way out. They got there by long hours, long sleepless nights, doing it over and over and over again. And one of the most important take homes is, and James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, talks about this. If you want to separate the good people from the great people in life, the people that are really great at something have a very high ability to tolerate boredom, right? Meaning a great artist or a great musician can sit there all day and sketch and draw and paint the same thing over and over and over again. And when I was a professional athlete, it was really, really boring to run around a track in a circle all day long. But guess what? I could tolerate that because I knew what I wanted to do. And because I could tolerate that boredom and that hard work and that self-discipline, I got to the Olympic trials and I almost made the Olympic team, right? I missed it by like one slot. And so the point is that I think people need to hear more often that quality is great, working smart is great, but there's a lot of hard work and there's a lot of repetitions that come before that. So if you want to change your mindset, the first thing you have to do is accept that you need to change and that you're the problem. And the second thing you have to understand is it's going to be a lot of hard work. And I would say the third most important thing is understand that it is a process that happens throughout your life. There's no end point. It's continual discovery. And then the fourth thing is, if you have the ability to do it, find someone to work with, because if we go by ourselves in life, we can go really fast. But if we go with someone else, we can go really far. And having someone to hold you accountable, to support you, and to challenge you will help you walk that journey much easier.
I love that. I love that conversation because you're right. You know, you can only go so much. That's why I love collaboration. It's because I'm limited to, you know, when it comes to leadership, I'm limited to 25 years of leadership for me. But if I have you, I have Rocky, I have Dan, Janice, Nick. Now we're almost to 200 years, right, of leadership. And so the solution, it used to be only one or two. Now it's multiplied to 8. And we can test all 8 if whatever works, right? And that's why I don't understand why people always compete when you can literally collaborate to make your impact and your legacy much more wider. So I love that you say that. And also, that's funny that you said that. My daughter's like, I don't want to do homework. I already know these things. I work smarter, Mom. And I'm like, no, that's not smart because your homework grade is still not acceptable at this point, right? You still have to do it. She's like, but I already know how to calculate it. And I'm like, I understand. Your teacher is not actually looking at you and said, oh, wow, you're stupid. You know, you're not, she knows you're smart, but you're lazy. So that she doesn't want to do homework. So now she has a friend who is needing tutoring, and she's like, I'm not a good teacher. I know how to do it, but I can't teach others to do it. And I'm like, okay, well, how are you doing with your homework buddies? And he's like, oh, they're getting it. I'm like, then you are a good teacher. If they are getting it, then you are a good teacher. It's just sometimes we always underestimate of our capabilities because we've never done it before. And I like what you said about over and over in terms of degrees. Yeah. So Monday was my first day of school again.
That's right.
I went back to school and I was thinking when I was doing my homework, I'm like, what was I thinking? The first class right now is master thesis statement for creating a a study, but I like STEM. I love engineering. I fly drones. I get an FAA license to fly drones. I do robotics. I don't even have that on my profile on LinkedIn, but that's something I'm passionate about. I love cutting machines. I love the little needy greedy things. And I said that's what I want to do for women and girls, because I see studies that for some reason women and girls are not into math science. I'm not sure. There are, but it's just not enough numbers. So I wanted to change and make an impact there to make it more fun, but I got to figure out how to make it more fun. So video games, I don't know, parents don't let their kids play video games because they rots their mind. I said the contrary. My kids will play video games any day, anytime, and still do actually that, because it's creative thinking. It's thinking outside the box. I think it's just a matter of like how you change their mind and use that for their advantages. And I love, because I set their minds since they were little, because I'm like, I really want them to do engineering and creative thinking somehow, and analyze those things. And they're very logical, more than I am sometimes, because I'm emotional. But how do you approach helping others transform their mindset, especially in the context of education and business, which is both of us are actually doing, right? Because right now you are going to coach someone to have that mentality of continuous improvement for themselves. So what are some of the approach that you use?
Yeah, no, I can definitely touch on that. There's some good things that I can share. And as a gamer, I have to address what you said about video gaming. So actually, when I was the residency director, our center, our academic center, was one of the first centers in the country to actually take residents and fellows. And we actually got approval from the university to have, video games in the hospital, in their break rooms. And we actually were able to find that playing video games actually made them better surgeons as far as eye-hand coordination, arthroscopic surgeons. So I'm not telling people to play video games all day long if they want to be in medicine, but it does help. So yeah, one of the ways, and I think the simplest way to touch this question on how do we help people approach that transformation, especially in the context of, education, business, but also in their personal lives, right? The relationships with their spouses, with their kids, getting back more time. I think the most important way to help them to transform and to help them approach that is to take them sort of on a journey, right? Coaching is a lot about asking the right questions at the right time. It's all about, if they want different answers, right, to ask different questions. And so the most important thing as a coach is to be able to really actively listen and to connect with that person on a level where I'm able to, not give them information, not just solve the problem for them, but really pull the information out of them that's already there. And so true transformation only happens if they're coming to the discovery themselves, right? It can't just be that we're giving them the keys to the house. We have to help them build the house piece by piece so that they can then translate that to other aspects of their life. So the most important way to help them transform is simply through deep thought, provoking, and insightful questioning.
Wow. So let's say, for example, I would be coming to you. Do you have a specific idea, like, okay, well, what do you want to work on? Right? Because I'm sure even I have a lot to work on. Like, I have a lot to work on. Mainly for me is sometimes self confidence, to be how to open up. In my culture, hiding things, it's not lying really. It's just the way our thoughts and our culture saying, you can't say these things. Or I talk a lot about Eastern and Western culture, where Western culture, we're looked at as an individual, right? CJ, whatever CJ does, it's CJ's fault, right? And it's CJ's business. But in Asian culture, whatever CJ does, it's the whole family. She was raised wrong. She didn't get enough love for her family. It's always the family that gets blamed on whatever I do. So in that capacity, it's hard for me to open up, because it's always going to be like, oh, you're going to be judged. Like, how do you work with someone who's always thinking anything that I do, anything that I say, it's going to be judged by not only the strangers, but also my family? How do you transform that mindset slowly, like a beginning start?
Yeah, I mean, I think the most important thing is when you have these beliefs in your mind, right, these limiting beliefs, the most important thing that I help people realize is that most of the belief systems that people have are, and almost everybody, they're set by the time you're 7 years old, right? By the time you're 7 years old, your belief system is set. And that's scientifically proven. And so what happens is people go through their entire life, right? Like I'm almost 41. You said you were getting close to 50. And so we've been living, most of us, with the same belief system for the last 40 years, right? What people don't realize is this concept of neuroplasticity, where you actually can recreate or strengthen other pathways in your brain and stop using other pathways. There are ways through questioning, through certain exercises, where you can get people to realize, understand, and challenge those limiting or those self beliefs. And then by getting them to do that, you can have them create evidence to the contrary. And if you get them to do this enough over and over again, and with enough different examples, they start to realize that those beliefs that they had are actually untrue, and that things that they were living by and these beliefs that they were using as guidelines throughout their life were actually false. And over time, they can change those belief systems and start to live by a new set of standards. And that starts to teach their brain to work in a different way and challenge those old thoughts. And so it's a process that takes time. It's an involved process, right? It takes work, but I do it every day with people. And it's incredible to see those light bulbs go off when they realize, oh my gosh, I've been thinking about this my entire life. I've been believing this thing that my mom told me, or that the culture told me, or that society told me, but it's a total lie. I mean, it's not that they're judgmental, but they're realizing that it's just not true. And then they start to build what is true for them. And that's when you see that light bulb go off in their mind and they make a real transformation.
Yeah, I still want to. I'm gonna research a study like why do we have to wait in our 40s to get an epiphany? Because I've heard that before, like, oh, when you hit your 40s, you'll see it clear. When you hit 50, it's even clearer. I'm like, dude, that's gonna be me soon. Like, why do we need to hit that certain age to really realize it? Why can't we, form our brain in our 20s so we can live a better life? Like, there's gotta be something we
I
can.
can tell you why. I can
Why?
tell you why it happens. Because what happens is when we start going to school and we start going to the school system, we start getting bombarded with knowledge our entire life. And then either you continue through formal education, or you go into the trades or hospitality or sales, and you go into another profession. And then you start to learn more and more and more knowledge. And so throughout our life, we're learning knowledge, but we're not really having a lot of experience to convert that knowledge to real wisdom. Then when you get to your 40s and your 50s, a lot of people get to that point in their career where they've made a little bit of money, they're starting to have more free time, and then they start to really think and challenge all these things that they've just been subconsciously doing all their life, because they had to work, they had to take the kids, they had to do this, they had to go to college, they had to get a promotion. And so as we get further along in life and we have more time to think back and reflect, we start to sit there and we start to realize, maybe there's more to life than just all of those other things. And so that's why one of the things I'm trying to do now is work with medical schools, residency programs, and fellowships, and help them prevent the burnout and some of the things that I went through by making, right, all in every class, even in high school, I think people could benefit from learning that life is more than just science, math, reading, literature, language, right? Economics. We need to teach kids, like, remember when we used to have like home ec, right? Like
Oh,
we
no.
need to,
Yeah.
we need to teach kids like about how to use their mind, how to deal with their emotions, right? How to handle adversity, just as much, if not more so importantly, than how to solve for X, right? Or what the cell wall looks like, and what photosynthesis is. Like, we need to teach kids about how to be resilient, about how to have a powerful mindset, about how to control their emotions, about how they can have thoughts in their mind, but they don't have to act on them. Those are all things that we don't learn till we get older, because no one taught us when we were younger. And then when we get older and we have time, we start to realize, man, like sometimes I'm really snippy with my wife or my husband, or sometimes I'm this or that. I think I can actually work on that. But we should be teaching people that when they're much younger.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm trying to do with my kids. One of them is resistant, okay? Like total resistant, like, mom, like the wall just goes up and she gives me, I'm like, you did not just give me a hand. You're not gonna go out. You're going out live. That is gone for 2 months if you disrespect one more time. And it's just, I wish that we can, and I know that we can, if we just collaborate with more adults who are heart-centered individuals to provide those for the young minds, because they are our future, and they're future leaders, they're future business, they're future educators, they're future scientists. And you see a lot of people dying from committing suicide, and it's so sad. They're so beautiful people, and it breaks my heart to think that if you and you know what's really funny is when you look at their skid mark from the outside looking in, because we don't know who they are as individuals, you're like, wow, she's an athlete, and she had a scholarship, and she had a really smart ways of doing things, and she came from a good home. Like, why did she do that? Right? And we question us all the time. It's because we don't realize that our mind is so powerful. It can move things for you. And
Yes.
that is one thing I love. Now, my second to the last question here is, what are some common challenges people face when trying to shift their mindset, and how can they overcome them? I know we've talked a lot about a lot of things already on that, but let's say, for example, when you're dealing with students in the hospital, right, in the medical field, and they're trying to become a doctor, and they're just so tired right now, and they just want to give up maybe their path to that. What kind of things could you provide for those types of people, the students who are wanting to do something, but you're like, you know what, Dr. Brian, I'm done. I can't handle this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think some of the most important things that you can do, and this is why I think that storytelling and sharing and giving back is so, so important, is that one of the best ways I've seen to sort of break down those barriers, or to overcome, the students or the clients who really feel like they don't have a way forward, right? Or they don't understand, like, how am I going to be able to do this because I'm already tired, because I'm already burned out. One of the best ways is to, if you haven't lived it yourself, or if you haven't, how do you say, or if you don't know someone who maybe has lived it themselves, one of the best things that you can do is bring someone in to just share their stories about being in that same position, right? So one of the first things I do with those clients, or one of the first things I do with the people that are in the same position I was, because one of the most important things in coaching is finding your ideal client. And for most coaches, their ideal client is either a past version of themselves, right, or like a current version. And so for me, what I do is I just share stories with them about the exact same situations that they're in right now that I was in before, right? And I explain to them, and I walk them through how I overcame it, and then I tie that back into things that they can do right now, or try to get them to realize, hey, wait a minute, like, if he was able to do this, then I can do this, right? Like, I wonder how he was able to do that. And so for me, it's about sharing relatable stories. That's why I think with coaching, it's one of those things where the titles after your name, the degrees that you have, are so much less important than being in a position where you've walked the walk that the people are trying to overcome, and that you've been through it. And so for me, one of the best ways that I break those challenges down, and help them overcome it, is just to share with them how I was in that situation and how I overcame that challenge.
I love that. Yeah, a lot of people are like, why do you do that? I'm like, no, I love transferable skills, but I also like to skill up in a structured way. I'm a very structured person. And quite honestly, getting a degree for me is not, it used to be where it was, I had to. And after my doctorate, pretty much anything after my doctorate now is just for funsies for me. I love going back to school, and I love learning the right tools. Like I'm a practitioner for CBT, cognitive behavior therapy. And I practice that sometimes a little bit here and there because it helps me and it helps my students. But now I'm taking it and leveling it up in terms of the proper way of how to help business leaders in, psychology, because I've heard so many like people, my friends, right? They make millions. One of them make almost $1 billion. And she said, I end up in the hospital every Friday. I was so stressed out and I was so burnt out. I was like, okay. She goes, looking from the outside, I was so successful, which I am financially. Mentally, I was dying. Right. So I wanted to kind of dig deep on that, like how I can support business leaders so that they can have a strong mind moving forward. But I also want to support the young minds who's going to be our future business leaders to ensure that we can lessen the mass shooting. We can lessen, all the issues with killing ourselves because of whatever we think success is, because success is so many different things. But I also think that, people, the people who are into education, sometimes they get their head too down, like you have to be educated to function in real life. Not really. I mean, I have a lot of friends who don't have degrees. I don't see people based on degrees. I see people by their heart. If you have a giving heart and you have a giving mind, then you're in my tribe. If you just are about book smart, then that's not going to work for me. If you're just too much of like, well, I hate people with degrees, then you're not for me either, right? It has to be that balance of just people. Forget the title. Forget, when you're a CEO and you're asked, who are you? In crickets, because they only can relate to themselves as their title,
Right.
and that shouldn't be it. You are your own person. And yes, Kimberly, Dr. Kat, you basic life is for kids, is home ec. I actually like the cooking and the sewing when I was little. And that's how I know how to sew manually. I don't know the machine sewing though, but I know how to do manually because that's how we were taught, from the littles. Let's talk a little bit about the summit, because you're going to be the speaker on the summit, right? What are some of the things that we can expect from you in terms of your video?
Yeah, so I'm going to be talking about mindset change. I'll be talking about what else was it, like finding purpose, I think. There's a whole bunch of stuff. You and I had a great conversation that day, and really what it is it's sort of laying the foundations and the principles to what it takes to live and be in this powerful mindset. Because at the end of the day, you can only be in, our brain basically has two sort of functions. You can either be in a primal state, which is like running from the saber-toothed tiger. This is where like fear, anxiety, depression, and those types of things come from. Or you can be in a powerful state of mind. And a powerful state of mind is where things like curiosity, creativity, love, grace, right? Those types of things come from. And so one of the biggest goals I have with clients and with patients is trying to get them to live as much of their life as they possibly can in that powerful mind state, because that really is where all the good stuff happens. And so my goal is to try to touch on a few basic tenets and principles that can really just sort of kind of, get people a little bit excited, kind of show them some of the behind the scenes and really get them excited about kind of what it takes and what that journey looks like.
I love that. My very last question of the day. If this is your last day today on this earth, what would be your parting message to your current and future families in terms of living life, legacy, and impact?
Yeah. So I truly believe that, the most important thing in life, and it's so much easier said than done, but we all should strive to do this. And that is to really embrace this concept of being present where your feet are, right? Or this concept that the Stoic concept of memento mori, which basically means that, there may be no tomorrow, right? And so in life, it's not really worth going through your life and building a legacy in terms of just wealth or monetary things or possessions, because those things run out. And very often when you leave this earth, people start to pilfer that stuff right away, right? But what true legacy is whether it's through the written word, whether it's through video, whether it's through speaking, whether it's through sharing or coaching, it's imparting value, significance, and just impactful concepts, ideas, and just getting people to think differently so that those people then want to share that with other people, and so on and so forth, right? So that when you are long gone, the ideas that you had, the concepts that you had, and the actions that you took to live those out, that will live on far longer than whatever, trust fund that you leave behind. So for me, it's all about education, it's all about impact, and it's all about truly influencing people for better, not for gain.
I love it. And that's why you are part of my summit. I only want people who are heart centered. I can see through it in the next 5 minutes when I talk to you if you are heart centered or you're just in it to something else, right? And thank you so much for your time today. Any last nugget that you could provide for our listeners? This will more likely be in almost 80 nations and countries and 25 distribution channels and 6 continents. What is your last nugget that you would provide?
Yeah, I would just tell people, that when everything is said and done, most people at the end of their life, most people do not regret the things that they did. They regret the things that they did not do. And those things that they mention right at the end of their life, because they've actually studied people who are at the end of their life. And the most often the things that they regret are things they didn't do. And it's always spending more time with family, spending more time with loved ones, and spending more time with friends. And so I would just tell people that in this digital age that we live in now, make sure that you take time to disconnect so that you can connect with people in real life and spend time with people you love and keep them close, because at the end of life, that's going to be the biggest regret you have, is not doing that.
Thank you so much for your time today. I love that golden nugget. I wish I could spend more time with my grandma. That's so true. The last time I saw her alive was 2011. So, yeah, I still have that picture though that we took together. And I'm like, oh, my husband made it so big, and my smile just opens up, and I didn't even know my tears just coming down. And my husband's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Allergies, just allergies." That's what it is, like my makeup's not gonna get ruined for this allergy today. We're good. But thank you so much for your time today. I totally appreciate you.
Of course.
Bye, everybody.